I'm 28, and most days it feels like I've already run out of gas. Not in a dramatic way, not like some big explosion, just in that slow, exhausting way where even the smallest things feel heavier than they should. Work feels impossible. Messages pile up because I can't bring myself to reply. Even cooking something simple feels like climbing a hill I don't have the energy for. And the scary part? It's not new. It's been like this for weeks, months, honestly, if I'm real with myself, maybe years. Days blur together until you can't tell if you're living or just recycling the same 24 hours over and over. And the world doesn't stop for you. Everyone else keeps moving, posting, getting promoted, falling in love, chasing dreams. Meanwhile, I'm here, playing old Call of Duty, trying to convince myself this isn't what being alive is supposed to feel like. But if you're watching this, maybe you know exactly what I mean. The thing about feeling stuck is that it's invisible. You can look fine on the outside, still showing up to work, still cracking jokes, still posting the occasional picture, but inside it's like wading through mud every single day. And you can't really explain it to people. Because how do you say, hey, I feel like my life is paused, like I'm buffering endlessly, without sounding like you're being dramatic? So instead, you just keep going through the motions, waiting for something to click, waiting for something to shift. Except it never really does. Sometimes I look around my apartment and realize how much it reflects me. A stack of laundry I never folded, half-drunk bottles of water on the nightstand, my bed unmade for weeks, not because I'm a rebel or anything, but because I just don't see the point. The fridge is either completely empty or full of random crap I bought during some half-hearted attempt to get my life together. Spoiler, it never works. And the more these little failures pile up, the heavier it all feels, like proof that I'm not moving, not progressing, not becoming whoever I thought I'd be at 28. I used to think this feeling was temporary, like, okay, I'm just burned out right now, I'll bounce back. But what happens when you never bounce back? What happens when days of burnout stretch into months, and months into years, until you can't even remember what it felt like to have energy, or passion, or drive? That's what scares me the most. The thought that maybe this isn't a phase, maybe this is just it. And it's weird, because sometimes it only takes something tiny to break me down. Like my phone charger stops working and suddenly I'm sitting there feeling like my whole life is falling apart. Or I drop a plate in the sink and it shatters, and instead of just cleaning it up like a normal person, I'm standing there frozen, feeling like the universe is confirming that I'm failing at everything. I know it sounds ridiculous. I know logically it's just a broken plate, or just a dead charger. But in those moments, it feels like a message. You can't even handle this. I spend a lot of nights lying in bed, scrolling aimlessly, and it's the same cycle every time. I see people my age traveling, getting engaged, building businesses, chasing passions. And then I look at myself, lying in the dark, watching strangers live, while I can't even get myself to do laundry. It's not jealousy exactly. It's more like this crushing sense that I'm falling behind, like life is a race and I'm not even on the track anymore. When I was younger, I thought 28 sounded so grown up. Like by this age, I'd have my shit together. Maybe not perfect, but at least stable. A career I cared about, a place that felt like home, some sense of direction. Instead, I feel like I'm still standing at the starting line, except now I'm older, more tired, and less hopeful. It's like watching everyone else sprint ahead while you're still tying your shoes. The thing is, I know I'm not alone in this. I read somewhere that Gen Z and millennials are some of the most burned out generations, and honestly, it checks out. Everything feels heavier for us. The economy's a mess, jobs feel like traps, rent is insane, and social media constantly reminds us of how far behind we are. But even knowing that doesn't really make it easier. Because at the end of the day, it's still me sitting here with an unmade bed and a mind that won't stop looping the same tired thoughts. I think that's why I make these videos. It's not about giving advice. I have none. It's not about being inspiring, because I'm the last person who should be teaching anyone how to fix their life. It's just about not being invisible, about putting these thoughts somewhere outside of my own head, even if it's just layered over an old Black Ops match. It's like therapy with kill streaks, and if even one person out there hears this and thinks, yeah, I feel that too, then at least it's not just me echoing into the void. Sometimes, when I really sit with it, I wonder if this is just how adulthood feels. Maybe the movies lied. Maybe growing up isn't about chasing dreams or finding purpose. Maybe it's just about learning to exist with the weight. But then there are small moments, a message from someone who watched my last video, or a random comment saying, this helped me feel less alone. And it reminds me that maybe the point isn't to win at life. Maybe the point is just to connect, even in these small, quiet ways. Still, connection feels rare these days. Most of the time, I just feel like I'm fading into the background. And that's probably the scariest part of all. Not the exhaustion, not the emptiness, but the feeling that I could just vanish and the world would keep spinning exactly the same. Like I'm replaceable, disposable, a ghost sitting in a room, controller in hand, while life keeps happening somewhere else. I keep thinking about time, how it slips by without asking permission. You look up, and suddenly another year has passed. And the messed up part is, I can't even remember what I did with it. Like, what did I actually live this year? I can remember the days I felt exhausted, the days I told myself I'd start something tomorrow, the days I scrolled for hours until the sun came up. But moments where I actually felt alive, those are harder to find. I always thought my 20s would be this messy but exciting chapter. I'd screw up a lot, sure, but I'd also collect memories, experiences, stories to laugh about when I'm older. But 28 feels less like a chapter and more like an endless blank page. Like I'm waiting for the plot to start, and it just doesn't. Everyone else seems to have some kind of momentum: careers, relationships, families, even hobbies. Meanwhile, my biggest accomplishment some weeks is remembering to take out the trash before it starts smelling too bad. And yeah, I know comparison is a trap. I've heard all the cliches. Everyone's timeline is different. Don't measure yourself against others. But it's impossible not to notice when your peers are climbing mountains while you're struggling to get out of bed. It's not even about jealousy. It's about wondering what went wrong. Like, was there some memo about how to be a functioning adult that I missed? Did everyone else get the download and my file got corrupted? There are days I feel like a spectator in my own life, watching myself go through the motions but not actually steering anything. I wake up, drag myself through the basics, and then it's nighttime again. Another day checked off the calendar, but nothing to show for it. And when I think about the years ahead, it's terrifying. Because what if this isn't just a season? What if it's permanent? What if this is my life? Sometimes the smallest moments snap me out of it, though not in a good way, more like a gut punch. Like when I catch a glimpse of myself in the bathroom mirror at 3 a.m., phone in hand, eyes bloodshot from scrolling, and I think, is this really who I am at 28? A grown man wasting hours looking at strangers' highlight reels while my own life collects dust? And the sad answer is, yeah, it kind of is. It's strange, because I don't think anyone really prepares you for this. As a kid, you're told to dream big, to imagine all the possibilities. In school, they tell you to work hard, get good grades, go to college. After graduation, it's find a career, build a life. But nobody warns you about what happens when the structure disappears, when you're on your own and there's no clear next step. That's when the emptiness creeps in. That's when you realize how easy it is to get stuck and how hard it is to get unstuck. And I'm not saying I don't have good moments. I laugh with friends sometimes. I have days where I feel motivated enough to cook an actual meal or clean my apartment and it feels like progress. But those moments are rare and they fade quickly. The default setting is still numbness, still feeling like I'm trapped under a heavy blanket I can't shake off. I think a lot about my younger self, 16-year-old me who thought by 28 I'd be successful, maybe even happy. He'd probably look at me now and wonder what the hell happened. And honestly, I wonder too. Somewhere along the way, the energy drained out of me. The curiosity, the drive, the hope, it all got replaced with this quiet exhaustion, like I'm carrying invisible weights every day. And the worst part is, you can't really explain this to people without sounding broken. If I tell someone I feel stuck, I feel empty, they either tell me to just push through it or they get uncomfortable and change the subject. Nobody wants to sit in that kind of honesty. Nobody wants to admit they feel it too. So you end up carrying it alone, even though you know deep down you're not the only one. I think that's why I'm saying it here, because maybe you're watching this and nodding along. Maybe you're sitting in your own messy room, staring at your phone, feeling like life is happening without you, and if that's the case, then at least we're not completely alone in it. At least we can share this weird, heavy silence together, even if it's just through a screen. There's this moment that happens to me a lot. I'll be walking home or sitting on the bus, and I'll suddenly realize I don't remember the last 10 minutes. Like I was there physically, but mentally, I was on autopilot, just a body moving through space while my brain was somewhere else. And that scares me, because if you can live 10 minutes without noticing, how many days, months, years can slip by the same way? Sometimes I joke to myself that I'm living like an NPC. Wake up, complete basic tasks, wander around aimlessly, repeat, and the game never progresses. It's dark humor, sure, but it's also kind of true. Life feels scripted, like I'm just playing out some pre-programmed loop without ever reaching the next level. And maybe that's why I keep turning to these old games, because at least here on the screen there's a sense of direction. A mission, a score, a win or a loss. Even if it's meaningless in the grand scheme of things, it still feels like progress. Real life doesn't feel that way. Real life feels like grinding without leveling up. I think about how weird it is to feel this lost at 28. Old enough that you're expected to have things figured out. Young enough that you're told you still have plenty of time. It's a cruel contradiction. Too old to be a kid, too young to be wise. Just stuck in the middle, drifting, and no one really tells you how to survive that middle part. So here I am, trying to put it into words. Not to fix it, not to wrap it up with a neat conclusion, but just to say it out loud. Because silence makes it worse. Silence convinces you that you're the only one. And maybe the truth is that a lot of us are here, in this limbo, at 28 or 25 or 30, just trying to make sense of why everything feels so heavy. I've been thinking a lot about routines, how they can either save you or quietly destroy you. When people talk about habits, they usually mean the good kind: gym, reading, journaling, meditating. But nobody talks about the other routines, the ones that form when you're not paying attention. The way I roll over in bed and check my phone before I've even opened both eyes. The way I scroll TikTok until the algorithm convinces me it's suddenly 3 in the morning. The way I buy groceries with this burst of optimism and then watch them rot in the fridge while I order takeout again. Those are routines too. They just don't look as pretty in self-help books. And over time, those routines become who you are. They start to feel permanent, like part of your DNA. I catch myself thinking, well, this is just me now. This is how my life goes. And maybe that's the scariest part, how easy it is to settle into being stuck. It doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like inertia, like the world keeps moving and you're just still. The funny thing is, sometimes people think I'm doing fine. They see me working, making videos, showing up when I have to. They don't see the pile of laundry shoved into the corner, or the nights I sit staring at the ceiling because I can't bring myself to sleep. They don't see how every little thing feels like a test I'm failing. I don't post that. Nobody does. And maybe that's part of why this cycle never ends. Because we're all pretending. I hate how small failures snowball into proof that I'm not good enough. Like I forget to answer a text for 2 days, and instead of just saying, oops, I'll reply now, I convince myself I'm a bad friend. Or I don't do the dishes, and suddenly I'm spiraling about how I'll never be able to handle real responsibilities. It's dramatic, sure, but when you're already running on empty, even a flickering light bulb feels like a sign from the universe that you're not cut out for life. Being 28 is weird because you're constantly balancing between two voices. One says, you're still young, don't worry, you have time. The other says, you're behind. Everyone else has figured it out except you. And most days, the second voice is louder. Every wedding invitation, every LinkedIn post about promotions, every photo of someone buying a house, it all feels like proof that I'm stuck in place. Sometimes I wonder if this is just how adulthood works, that nobody actually feels like they're progressing, they just get better at faking it. Maybe everyone else is also waking up tired, also eating cereal for dinner, also feeling like they're missing some instruction manual. But then again, some people really do seem like they're thriving, and that makes the gap feel wider, like I'm not just tired, I'm defective. There's a particular kind of loneliness that comes with this. Not the loneliness of being physically alone, but the loneliness of not being understood, of walking around with this heavy fog inside you while everyone else seems fine. You laugh when they laugh, you nod when they talk, but inside you're screaming, I don't feel okay. And nobody hears it. That silence builds walls around you until you start believing maybe you're not worth hearing in the first place. I think about how many hours I've wasted waiting for the spark to come back, waiting for motivation to show up. Like it's a package I ordered that got delayed. I tell myself, tomorrow I'll feel better. Tomorrow I'll start. But tomorrow looks exactly like today. And the longer I wait, the more it feels like I'm waiting for something that doesn't exist. The truth is, it's not even about motivation anymore. It's about meaning, about trying to figure out why I'm even doing any of this, why I wake up, why I drag myself through the same motions. It's not that I want to quit life. It's just that sometimes life feels like it quit me first. What's strange is that the smallest things can still hit me with this wave of emotion. Like, I'll be walking home and smell someone cooking dinner through an open window, and suddenly I feel this ache in my chest, not because I'm hungry, but because it reminds me of something I don't have. Warmth, belonging, a sense of home, all from the smell of garlic in the air. And it leaves me standing there, wondering how something so simple can make me feel so profoundly empty. And then there are the nights where I try to distract myself. I'll queue up a game, or throw on a show, or scroll through memes, and for a little while, it works. I laugh, I forget. But the silence always comes back when the distraction ends. The loading screen, the credits, the quiet room after the phone dies, that's when the emptiness creeps in again, like it was just waiting for me to stop running. I guess what I'm trying to say is, feeling stuck isn't always loud. It's not always dramatic or visible. Sometimes it's just this dull, persistent background noise. You wake up with it, carry it through the day, fall asleep with it, and no matter what you do, it doesn't shut off. And that kind of stuckness is almost worse than the loud kind. Because at least when something crashes dramatically, you notice, you react. But when it's quiet, you just get used to it. And before you know it, years have gone by and you're still standing in the same spot. That's what scares me most about being 28. Not the mistakes I've made, not the things I've lost, but the thought of staying exactly like this for the next decade. Of looking back at 38 and realizing I wasted another 10 years waiting for something to change. And maybe that's why I keep recording these thoughts. Because if I can't move forward right now, at least I can leave a trail. Something to look back on, to remind myself I was here, that I felt this, that it mattered. Even if it's just a voice layered over an old Call of Duty game, at least it's proof that I existed. I wonder sometimes if I've been waiting for some kind of breaking point. Like maybe if everything collapses at once, I'll finally be forced to change. But instead, life just keeps giving me these tiny inconveniences. The charger that won't work, the sink that clogs, the email I forget to reply to. Small, stupid things that shouldn't matter, but they add up until I'm convinced the universe is quietly laughing at me. It's almost funny. Almost. When I was younger, I thought adulthood meant confidence, that you'd hit a certain age and just know how to handle life. Bills, relationships, work, yourself. By 28, I thought I'd have some kind of rhythm. Instead, most days feel like improv, and not the funny kind, the awkward kind, where you're standing on stage and everyone's watching, and you have no idea what line you're supposed to say. And the nostalgia hits harder the older I get. I'll be sitting here, controller in hand, and I'll remember being a kid staying up late to play the same games. Back then, life felt full of possibility. The future was this huge open space I couldn't wait to run into. Now, it feels like the walls closed in without me noticing, like the future shrank into this narrow hallway, and I'm just pacing back and forth inside it. It's strange. I can remember being 16 and imagining my future self. I pictured someone sharper, braver, maybe even happier. Someone who'd have stories to tell. And now here I am, 28, with way fewer stories than I thought I'd have, and way more nights staring at my phone, scrolling through other people's lives. It feels like I became a side character in my own story. The worst part is how easy it is to fake being fine. To put on the smile, make the small talk, tell people, yeah, I'm good. Nobody asks follow-up questions. Nobody wants to know the real answer anyway, and maybe I don't want them to, because if I say, actually, I feel like I'm slowly dissolving inside, what are they supposed to do with that? Nobody wants to be the friend who ruins the vibe, so I just keep it to myself. That's what makes this channel feel different. Here, I can say it without editing myself. I can put words to the fog, even if the words don't make it better. And when people comment back, even just saying, or I feel this, it's like a reminder that maybe I'm not completely invisible. Maybe there are others pacing the same narrow hallway, wondering how life got so stuck. There's a quote I heard once, I think it was from BoJack Horseman, which is both depressing and accurate. Something like, it gets easier. Every day gets a little easier, but you have to do it every day. That's the hard part. And I hate how true it feels. Because sometimes it doesn't get easier. Sometimes it just stays heavy. And the thought of carrying that forever is exhausting. But I've also realized exhaustion becomes familiar. You stop noticing it the same way you stop noticing background noise. It's just there, humming underneath everything. And maybe that's why I don't scream or cry as much as I thought I would. Because it's not about sharp pain. It's about dull ache, constant, unshakable. And dull ache doesn't inspire action. It just convinces you to lie down. I'm not trying to sound hopeless, though. Because the truth is, there are still little sparks, like when I get a message from someone saying, hey, your video helped me feel less alone, or when I'm editing and I hear myself say something I didn't even know I was carrying until it came out. Those moments are tiny, but they're real. And sometimes they're enough to keep me going another day. Maybe that's what life really is. Not the big moments we imagine as kids, but the small ones that slip in when you least expect them. A laugh with a friend at 2 a.m., a song that hits you in the chest when you're walking home, a random YouTube comment that makes you feel seen. It's not glamorous. It's not the success we're told to chase, but it's something. And when you're this empty, something feels like a lot. Still, I can't help but grieve the version of me I thought I'd become. The 28-year-old who would have had his life together. The one who wouldn't panic over dishes or feel crushed by an unanswered email. Sometimes I wish I could sit with that younger version of me and tell him, hey, it's not going to turn out like you thought, but you'll still be here. You'll still be breathing. And that has to count for something. Of course, that's easier to say in theory than to believe in practice, because when you're in the middle of the fog, still here, doesn't feel like much of an achievement. It just feels like, existing. But maybe existing is enough, at least for now. Maybe surviving the stuck days, the empty weeks, the wasted months, maybe that's its own kind of quiet victory. And if that's true, then maybe talking about it matters too. Maybe putting words to this invisible weight makes it a little lighter, even if just for a moment. Maybe someone watching this feels the same heaviness, and maybe hearing it out loud makes them feel less broken. If that's the case, then maybe this emptiness isn't completely wasted. Maybe it can still connect us in this weird, fragile way. Some nights I sit in the dark with just the glow of the screen, and I wonder if this is all adulthood really is, trying not to fall apart while nobody's watching, pretending you're fine when deep down you're not. We grow up thinking life is this big adventure, this story with arcs and meaning, but most of the time it's just repetition. Waking up tired, going to work, paying bills, scrolling, sleeping, repeat. And I don't know if that's comforting or horrifying, maybe both. I used to think I'd eventually snap out of it. Like one morning, I'd wake up with energy, clarity, purpose. The movie moment where everything shifts and suddenly I'm living again. But I'm 28 now, and that moment still hasn't shown up. Instead, what I have are these small, fleeting flashes, laughing with someone I love, catching a sunset by accident, hearing a song that hits too close. And maybe that's all there is. Not a big transformation, but little interruptions in the fog. It's strange how much pressure we put on ourselves to be constantly improving. If you're not building, climbing, achieving, then you're wasting time. At least, that's what we've been told. But what if time spent just surviving isn't wasted? What if getting through a heavy day is its own kind of accomplishment? I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for that. Still, I can't lie. There's a voice in my head that whispers I'm behind. Behind on life, behind on love, behind on everything. At 28, people expect progress. They expect you to have something to show for the years you've lived. And when all you have is silence, exhaustion, and a messy room, it feels like failure. Even if you know logically that everyone's path looks different, it doesn't stop the comparison. It doesn't stop the ache. I don't think I realized how lonely this would feel. Not the kind of loneliness that comes from being physically alone. I've felt that since I was a kid. This is different. This is being surrounded by people, by content, by endless connection, and still feeling unseen. It's sitting in a crowded cafe and realizing that if you walked out the door right now, nobody would notice. It's opening your phone, seeing dozens of notifications, and realizing none of them actually make you feel less empty. And that's where the sarcasm comes in, I guess. Because if I don't laugh at it, it's just too heavy. Like, cool, I'm 28. My crowning achievement is hitting prestige in a game that came out over a decade ago. My plants are dead, my fridge is empty, my laundry is permanently wrinkled, and my brain is buffering like it's on dial-up internet. If life had a report card, mine would probably just say incomplete. But hey, at least I'm consistent. Sometimes I wonder what people will remember about me. If I disappeared tomorrow, what's the legacy? A few half-finished projects, some funny texts, a YouTube channel where I vent into the void. And honestly, that thought used to terrify me. But lately, I've started to accept it. Maybe not everyone leaves behind some great polished legacy. Maybe some of us just leave behind fragments, messy, imperfect, unfinished, and maybe that's enough. Because the truth is, even when I feel invisible, this channel reminds me I'm not completely erased. Every comment, every message, every view, it's proof someone heard me, proof I existed, even if just for a moment in someone else's day. And that matters more than I ever thought it would. So yeah, I'm 28 and I feel stuck. I feel empty. I feel like I've been buffering for years. But I'm here. I'm still showing up in small ways. I'm still putting words to the silence, even if they don't fix it. And maybe that's the closest thing to progress I can claim right now. If you're watching this and you feel the same, like you're running out of gas, like your life's on pause, just know I see you. Even if I don't know your name, even if we never talk, I see you. And maybe that's what this is all about, not fixing the emptiness, but acknowledging it together. I don't have advice. I don't have a solution. All I have is this. Thank you. Thank you for listening, for letting me be honest without needing to wrap it up with a bow. Thank you for proving that even when I feel invisible, I'm not completely gone. So yeah, that's all. This is me, at 28, saying out loud what I usually keep inside. Therapy with kill streaks, a confession in the middle of the night, and maybe, just maybe, that's enough.